Hello, my name is Andrew. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my most disappointing reads of 2022. For me, this year was, in terms of reading, very mediocre. I mentioned this in my worst books already, I believe, but we're just going to get into the books that I also found disappointing this year. So, and I haven't really ranked these in any specific order, I'm just going to go through them. So number one on my list is The Lines of Locomora by Scott Lynch. I listened to about 80% of this book. I didn't actually finish the book, but I do kind of want to go back, maybe read it physically, maybe reread it, I don't know, but knowing how much I love The Name of the Wind and how much this book is kind of compared to The Name of the Wind, I really thought this was going to be a win for me, but I was just much more invested in Locomora as a child than I was as adult. Story was just so, I don't know, maybe by the end I would have appreciated it more. So I don't know, I just think maybe I need to like go back in with a different headspace and I would enjoy it more. Next I'm going to say Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, which I still gave 4 stars to. I still thought it was good, but the hype it's getting at the level that it's getting, I'm not sure that I agree. I even like unhauled the book because I just feel like it was not meeting what people were saying it was supposed to. And I feel like once you know the answers to the mystery, it's really not that satisfying to me. So I don't know if I really want to read. I was debating reading her other long one, Strange and Norel, but I just don't know if something that short couldn't give me. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to probably read that in the future because it seems like a lot of people love Piranesi. But so I mean, that's really all I have to say about that one. Then we have Sabriel by Garth Nix, and this one I just couldn't really. I mean, not even Tim Curry could really get me into the narration of it. I don't know, something about the writing of it or the way it's written, it's just not, like, it wasn't really, I don't know how else to say it. I just couldn't really get into it. I mean, maybe when I would try to read physically at a later point in time, but I just didn't feel like the magic was explained well. I didn't think it was, like, I don't think it was poorly written or anything. I just think it was, like, it wasn't what I go for and what I look for in a fantasy novel, even though I really thought it would be, because it's, like, Cassandra Clare's favorite, it's Sarah J. Maas's favorite, it's V.E. Schwab's favorite, like all these really prolific authors like have it on their favorites list. It just wasn't what I was really, I don't know, I just wasn't really vibing with it, which, I mean, it's crazy because I love Tim Curry, but even his narration just couldn't do it for me. Okay, next we have the entire Heroes of Olympus series. I would just call that whole thing a disappointment, and I have talked about it ad nauseum in a very long vlog, so I will just link that for you to check out if you care. Next, we have Carrie Soto is back, who that is so disappointing to me because like she is one of my favorite authors. Taylor Jenkins Reid has written like some of my all-time favorite books. But Carrie Soto, which it's funny because I feel like everyone was so disappointed by Malibu Rising, but I thought Malibu Rising was like my second or third favorite from her, and like everyone has been saying like Carrie Soto is like her return to like being good again. No, like I just don't care about tennis that much, I'm sorry. And I don't think that the romance was that good. Next we have The Guest List by Lucy Foley, which for some reason I don't know why I thought was, and then there were none retelling. It's absolutely not. I mean, you get to like 70-80%, everyone's still alive, so I was like, okay, well, that's not what we're doing here. And I really wish that I had known that was not what we were doing, because it really hindered my experience way too much. I feel like I would have enjoyed the book a lot more had I known like that's not what it was. Like the only thing that's similar about them is that they're on an island. That's the only similarity. Like I for some reason thought there was going to be tons of people dying. No. Okay, next we have The City of Brass by S.A. Chalk Reporting. I really thought I was going to love this one. I did enjoy it, and again, maybe if I read it physically it would be different, but I just didn't really care for the characters. The world is interesting, but I just don't think enough things about the book grip me enough to want to continue the series, even though I know it has, like, the aesthetics of it are beautiful, and I did enjoy the writing, but I don't know, I just don't feel compelled enough to continue. I really don't. I've barely thought about that book since I finished it. I do have a full review for, I think it's spoiler free, but I'll link it somewhere. And then we're going to talk about the second and third books in the Mistborn trilogy. Now, a lot of people say the first book in the series is their favorite, and I agree. Like, I loved the first book, but which is crazy because I had read Warbreaker from Brandon Sanderson before, and it was just okay for me. And then, like, I think that the first book stands so well on its own. Like, you could just read it as a standalone, and it would be a pretty great book. And the continuation of it also, like, I get why, and it's definitely, like, I understand why people love it so much, but it's something about Sanderson's writing, it just does not connect with me. Like, something about it, to me, just feels like he doesn't really put that emotion in it, or something about his emotions and the way, I don't know, just something about us doesn't really go together. Like, I just don't connect with his writing. That's all I really can say. I don't feel like he gives me enough. He doesn't give me enough character moments, I think is what it is. I think the first book had enough of them. I loved Vin as a character in the first book, but as the series continues, I just didn't. And the first book has one of my favorite characters that I can't spoil things, but I just feel like the second and third books were so disappointing compared to like the way Sanderson is discussed. Again, I just don't think, I think I'm going to take a long break from ever reading a Sanderson book because I just don't think he works for me, and I have to accept that. And speaking of writers who don't seem to be working for me, I read Coraline and The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman this year as well, and I think I preferred Coraline out of those two, and I did watch the Coraline movie, and I enjoyed the Coraline movie more than the book, and I think maybe me and Gaiman are just this weird situation where one of my favorite shows all year, my favorite show, possibly my favorite thing I watched all year long, was the Sandman adaptation. But I tried to read the Sandman comics, and I don't know, and I know Gaiman like contributes to his adaptations and stuff, so I don't know, maybe I just, something about the way he adapts stuff, I enjoy it as a visual format more. I've even gotten his, like, he has a short story collection, I've read multiple of these at this point, and I don't know what it is. Like, it just, to me, I just read it and I'm just like, what was that? Like, what was the point of any of that? I don't get it. I want to probably read the rest of the collection in here because I have it, so why not? And then I want to read The Ocean at the End of the Lane. So I'm going to just give that a shot and see what I think, because maybe those two are just not for me. Although I mean, it's crazy because I feel like people are talking about Coraline like it was so scary, and like it is, but to me it was much scarier visually. But it's not even scary, it's just like spooky. Like, I love spooky. I mean, The Diviners is like my favorite series of all time, and that's definitely spooky. I just don't know about Gaiman, and something about his writing also just doesn't seem to connect with me. And lastly, a disappointing read that we have is going to be Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which I believe was in a 5-star predictions video on my channel. And again, aesthetically, I love it, but the actual, I don't know, it's one of those ones that actually, once I finished it and after I've been thinking back on it, and I think I watched the Alfred Hitchcock. I watched the directed version by Alfred Hitchcock of this movie and enjoyed it, but again, it's just something that falls kind of flat for me. For some reason, it just kind of falls flat for me. It's not really thrilling, it's haunting, and I like the message of the book, but as far as like an entertainment value in this book, I don't think it really has entertainment value. I think it's very, which I mean, like, it's a book, so I mean, we all read books for different reasons and stuff, but I feel like this is much more of a literary thing in a way, and I just don't really like literary fiction. Like, I love like escapist fantasy and like plot twists like crazy. Like, this could have used way more reveals and plot twists and stuff like that. Like, for me, that's what I like in thrillers and stuff. So this doesn't really do that, but it is a very interesting case study on Rebecca, who is the dead wife. This woman, she meets this man, he has a wife that passed away, and there's just this overlooming haunting of Rebecca in the house. Like, everyone was obsessed with her, and everyone's like, well, Rebecca did this when she was here, and Rebecca did that when she was here, and like, Rebecca. And like, the message is like, well, I don't want to, you should read it for yourself if you're interested. But I don't know. And I'm not sure if I want to read any more by du Maurier, because I feel like this is her most popular work, which not all the time, but it usually seems like the most popular work by an author is like their best. But I just don't know if how I felt about this, reading other stuff by her, is going to, like, if this is what her MO is, I'm just not sure this is my vibe. Like, if we're going to talk about thrillers, I would much rather read like Gillian Flynn. So that's that on that. Those are my most disappointing reads of the year. So sorry if any of these were your favorite. Please let me know your most disappointing reads in the comments. Whatever you thought was the most overhyped, I would love to hear it. I will leave my Instagram, Goodreads, and Twitter all in the description if you'd like to check them out. Otherwise, have a great day. Bye.